Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Amandana podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Mandana, and today we have a very special guest, Isabella. Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to pursue a career in art?
Yeah, so my Korean art really started when I was younger. When I was around 10 years old, I was really inspired by the artist Loish on DeviantArt and Instagram. When I saw her art, I was really inspired to pursue a career in art. And I at first I thought I couldn't take myself seriously, but then I saw that she did like these anime inspired portraits of these girls that looked so fancy and so pretty that I wanted to do that so badly. And I was like, okay, if she can do that, then I can do that. And it was another girl. It wasn't like another man drawing these like overly promiscuous girls, which you know what, it's fine, do what you want, but she was doing like these fantastical girls. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. So Loish is my biggest inspiration, of course. If you see my art, these big like eyes and these like small like smiles and stuff like that, it's very inspired by her. So that's what I want to do.
Cool. And what exactly do you do? For instance, do you do company logos, paintings?
So I do digital paintings for I want to do concept art for video games.
Mm,
So art in general I do, but I do digital paintings mostly.
okay.
And you mentioned an artist that inspired you, but were there any other artists or art styles that inspired you, and how did these evolve over time?
So it was mostly anime that started me when I was young. I would put up like these pictures, I'd print them out and I'd post them on my window and I would trace over them. So a lot of anime, Akira, no, not Akira, is his name Akira Toriyama? The guy who did Dragon Ball. Um, he really inspired me with these like big eyes as well. I love the big eyes. He inspired me. I would print out his drawings all the time and I'd put them on my walls and I would just like look at them and be like, wow, this is amazing. So that over time evolved to more concept art, more realistic art. Um, the smaller eyes would kind of get smaller and smaller, like the big eyes get smaller and smaller, unfortunately, but it was still there. It's still there. The anime inspired inspiration is still there. So I think my roots are still heavily lied in like fantastical fantasy art, but now I really like realistic, you know, um with a touch of creativity in there.
All right. So this is kind of like on the same topic, but does art continuously evolve, or once you find your style, does it remain the same for a few years?
I think art is always going to be evolving. I mean, I've seen myself progress like from like minutes, honestly. Like, yeah, you see the progress and you're like, okay, girl, like there's
Mhm,
something always changing in your art. There's some new inspiration always coming,
mhm,
um, which is like amazing. I love that. I love that you can find inspiration in anything and everywhere. I mean, I go to conventions as well and I find new artists all the time and I'm like, "Oh, I really like your art." And how your art evolves is seeing new things and picking up other people's art styles and kind of mashing them together into um your own thing. And that's the
mhm.
beauty of it, is that you're just inspired by everything.
And can you walk us through your creative process when you start a new project? Do you get inspiration from your environment, online art, or do you just spontaneously start a project like that?
So for me, I love the app Pinterest. Maybe you guys know about Pinterest. I love
Mhm.
Pinterest. You can get inspired by so much. So what I usually do is I go through Pinterest. I just scroll through, I look up art or I look up, art by whoever I want to draw or photography. Um, I look it up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna draw this, for example. I recently did a portrait on Chappelle Rowan and I had to look her up and I found like so many beautiful images on Pinterest. I feel like things that you can't find on Google that people upload themselves because Google is basically like um I don't know, like more like basic photography, but Pinterest has like something extra to it. So I find
Mhm.
more inspiration on Pinterest there. And then I just start sketching and I just go about it. And then I start painting. I take the sketch and I start painting with it, changing the brushes, changing everything about the drawing and making it into a painting that turns out to be a final product. And that final product I post on social media. I show my parents, I show my friends. I'm like, hey, look at this thing I did. You like?
And can you share with us, please, any experiences or challenges you face while trying to sell your art? How does that work exactly, and how do you go about it?
So I I find it really hard to sell your art because it's so saturated. It's such a saturated market, and there's always going to be someone better than you. Um, that people will gravitate towards like the more popular artists. And when you're a small artist, you know, your friends are mostly the ones commissioning you. Um, Another thing I faced in my art journey, I guess, this is outside of selling your art, but so it's still in line with it, is that I was rejected from art school a few times until I found a private art studio in Montreal that accepted me for who I was and what I was doing. Because the art that I do is not, you know, what you see in studios. It's what you see in a more niche market. So it was
Mhm.
unfortunate that they didn't see, you know, a viability in what I was doing. Um, but when I found what I liked and when I found the place I can grow, that's when I got accepted. And I'm actually starting in September to go to a new art school. So I'm really excited.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And how does that, like, just an extra question right there, how does that work? Because I feel like everyone's style is so different, yet everyone's good. So how do they go about selecting?
They see your potential, I guess. They look through
Okay.
your portfolio and they look through your intent, they look through your CV as well to see what experiences
Mhm.
you had. And they saw that I had a lot of experiences going to different art camps and art schools and stuff like that, the ones I wasn't rejected from. But different art schools and all that and different art opportunities that I was given. And they see potential in that. They see that you're able to take what they're going to give to you and produce, you know? So I'm not sure about the progress. I am not someone who would like to do that kind of job at all because I see the potential in everybody. I think all art is beautiful, but I guess the selection process is that they see your potential, they see what you're made out of, and they see if you're the right fit for that school because there's so many different art schools as well. There's some for concept art, there's some for studio art, there's some for everybody. And I was accepted into Concordia for studio art, but I was like, is this the right place for me? Am I producing for studios or am I producing for maybe online, maybe for video games, maybe for film? So I found a place that was right for me.
And have you explored any particular platforms for selling your art? And do you think TikTok is a valuable avenue for this when it comes to reaching potential buyers?
So TikTok is funny because there's an algorithm to be played there. And I think that your art um has to fit in their algorithm. I've posted a few times on TikTok about my art and I've gotten like a few hundred likes, which is nice, and a few thousand views. So I'm like, okay, it's gaining traction. But I feel like if I just straight up posted like my commission information, they'd be like, oh, okay, this is not like what the algorithm is looking for. We're looking for more like, oh, this is my sketchbook tour, this is my new painting, this is my process. Um, so I'm not sure if selling your art on TikTok is like the most viable, but I found that Instagram and sharing my art to my friends has been really helpful because then they find people who want to do art or they want someone to do art for them, and then you you transfer all this information to other people and it kind of spreads like wildfire. So I feel like sharing it with your friends, sharing it on Instagram. I also found the platform Kofi, Kofi, to be very interesting. Twitter as well, but TikTok. It was more for sharing your art, not for getting customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, I see. And what are your long-term goals as an artist?
My long-term goal is to produce
Mhm.
for film and video games, and just to share my art and make people inspired and happy and, get other young girls and guys to be like, I can do this as well. And I think that would just make me like burst into joy if I heard that I was someone's inspiration, that they saw me and they were like, oh, her, that's the one I want to do. This is the one I look up on Pinterest. This is the one that I look up on YouTube for her art tutorials, or like I
Mhm.
look her up for her podcasts and her words, and they guide me. So that's what I really want to do. I want to inspire, and I want to overall just be an artist. I just want to involve myself in the community.
And how do you balance your art with the other responsibilities you have?
So I mostly draw at night when I am not busy. I work in the day, and then at night I take time for myself. I really set out like an hour or two. I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna sketch. And then I'm like, okay, if I like what I am sketching and if I want to turn this into a digital painting, the next day I will take that hour or two and I'll put it into digital painting instead of sketching. So, um, how do I say this? It's taking life and chopping it up into hours and being like, at this time I'm going to do this, and at this time I'm going to do that, and prioritizing also your mental health as well, because sometimes I don't want to draw. Sometimes I'm not feeling well to draw enough. Maybe I'm a little bit sick. Maybe I'm not feeling, up to it. So there are some times where I don't draw at night, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take that time for myself. But balancing it with just life in general has been really easy, I found. If I just take my life, I'm like, hours, and this is what I'm gonna do. So that's been really helpful.
And what advice would you give to anybody who is thinking of making a career in art? So let's say we have a young teenager listening to us right now. What advice would you give to them?
Keep drawing and keep all your drawings. Do not throw them out. Don't be like me and taking your sketchbook and just going, I'm ripping them out. I used to do that and I lost so many good pieces to it. I'm so sad. And my dad kept a lot of my old art as well. So I'm able to look up, all my old art and, reference it for new art and be like, hey, look at my process, look at my progress as well. Um,
Mhm.
so it was really nice that, also upload your art to the internet, because you'll never know who you meet. I met so many great people through my art who liked it, and then we just became friends, or people who became, I guess, fans, or interest in my art because they're like, oh, I like what she does. So just keep posting, keep doing it, and don't let go, and don't stop even if someone tells you no. Unless you're in school, then pay attention.
And where can our listeners find and purchase your art?
So you can find me on Instagram at Lisbubs, Lisbubs. That's where I mostly post all my art. I post all my stories about new art coming up. Um, you can just find me there. If not, you can find me on Discord under Lisbuns, Lisbuns. You can message me there privately, and you can talk about art commissions and art in general.
Thank you so much, Isabella, for being here and sharing your story with us. As for our listeners, thank you for tuning in and for your endless support. We will see you all in our next episode. And don't forget to drop a comment and rate us a 5 stars. Thank you. XOXO.